Hi friends, Mindy here. I'm going to be working on a little project today and I thought I would just turn on the camera and take you along for the ride. I am going to be creating some mini envelope notebooks. This is actually inspired by Rachel over at Roxy Creations. This is part of her Roxy's Weekly Challenge for 2025. She's hosted this for years. This is the first time I'm actually really trying to participate in it. I don't know if I will do all 52 weeks this year, but I may just do a few here and there. And it's kind of a good way to sort of mass make some pieces for your junk journals. And I thought this one would be a great way to use up some of these big scraps of paper that I have from a previous project. So I have in my stash a bunch of envelopes, as I'm sure, you know, a lot of you who do junk journaling have amassed some of these. Of course, you could just, you know, these could be anything from unused envelopes to, you know, envelopes that have literally just come with the mail or whatever. I did pull ones that had windows in them, and in the end, very quickly I decided that that was not going to be my favorite way of doing this. So I did keep one with a window, as you'll see, and then the rest of them I actually covered up the window part. But here what I'm doing is I have folded them all in half, obviously used my bone folder for the crease, and then I'm coming in with my glue and I'm going to seal the flap shut. So I'm putting a layer of glue right at the edge of the flap and then along the inside section as well. This way, when you're putting things in and, you know, pulling things in and out of the pocket part of this, things aren't going to get hung up on that seam. So I'm going to come through here now and take my trimmer and I'm just going to trim the very top. I was really trying to decide how and where I wanted this window, if I even wanted the window. And like I said, I do end up covering that in most of them, but I'm just going to trim off just the very top edge of these journals. I know one of the ones that Rachel did, she actually did a side loading pocket, so you can kind of do that however you want, but I did all of mine kind of the same for this project. So I have some printables that I'm going to be using. This one is actually from the ArtfulEra Gallery. It's been in my stash for a while. And so I'm going to basically collage some paper, some printables and different things around this envelope. So I'm using obviously a white mailer envelope here, so it's not very exciting. So I will cover up most of this envelope, but I did kind of do a little bit different on each one of them, which I will show you here in a second. But I'm just tearing it down using my ruler because I like those rough edges. I'm using a Yoo-hoo glue stick for this because you really want to make sure you have good coverage all over whenever you're collaging something like this. And I was concerned about the spine getting too thick if I just worked too much over the edges of it. So this one I will actually come back through and add some washi tape on the edge. But I'm just going to go through and use printables and collage around on here. So I have another one. This is actually from that same set of printables from ArtfulEra Gallery. And I'm just kind of almost doing this like I would a collage masterboard almost. But here at the very top, I thought maybe I would need to reinforce the top since I'm going to be having things going in and out of that pocket. So I'm going to wrap this into the inside of the envelope. You can see there, I just trimmed the corner so that I could kind of miter it. I did this on this journal, and this was the only time I did this. I did not actually bother doing it on the other journals. I felt like they were going to be okay, and it just added more bulk than is really necessary for this cover, given the fact that it's pretty thin since it's an envelope. So I'm just going through here, adding some more of this printable, and then I'm just trimming off the edges. And I'm not too concerned about it, some of the white part of the envelope showing here, because I'm going to come back through with some distress ink and you won't be able to see it anyway. So on the back side, I'm just going to use one full piece of this printable, and then the same on the inside. I'm trying to be mindful of the spine because I know it's not, if you add too much in there, it's really not going to be able to close very well, just given the state of what we're working with here. So I did decide to kind of do two separate little sections here. And then again, I went back in with the washi tape and just to kind of reinforce everything. And so I ended up sort of adding some bulk into that as well. But you can see again here, I am just tucking that into the inside to reinforce the top. I'm not going to make you watch me cover all of these envelopes, but I did sort of approach them each a little bit differently, but with this in mind that I wanted to kind of cover most of it. Again, this is the only one where I did the wrapping down into the pocket. If you want to, make sure that the inside is covered like this, the inside of this one was actually a security one, so it had that, black and white design, so it would have been okay. I really did it more just for the to make it a little bit more sturdy. So I'm coming back through here with my bone folder to really try to get that fold nice and kind of bent down, and then I will go ahead and cover the other journals. So you can see here I've used a variety of different things. This one is actually my favorite one. This is some printables from the Junk Journal Studio, the All Things Roses kit. And this is actually printed on heavier weight cardstock. So I actually did that example the same way that Roxy did, or Rachel did, where she cut the envelope in down the center and then added fabric to make the hinge, and that ended up actually being my favorite way of all of these. I just felt like it worked and functioned the best. And this envelope was the blue one, and so I decided I wanted to leave like a little border around there so that you could really tell that it was envelope, and I just covered it all in one printable. You can see I went around the edges with some archival ink, and now I'm going to pull out some of these papers that I have. These are offcuts of a 12 by 12 paper from another project that I was doing, and they end up just being the perfect size. Now there's not a lot of space in these little mini envelope notebooks that you can add a ton of paper in here, so I think I kept it to about three or four pages per envelope, just to make it so that it wouldn't be too incredibly bulky. I'm just kind of eyeballing this, folding it down to about the right size, and then I'm going to come back in and trim everything down. But I have my my covers kind of sitting here, and I'm just going to go through all of my little papers that I had folded and kind of assign them to which journal I feel like they are going to coordinate best with. And so there's really no rhyme or reason to this. It's just personal preference, just trying to mix up some lights and darks. And then some of those that had like especially the blue envelope, I did try to make sure it had some paper that had some blue on it, that kind of stuff. And then I will go through, and I think I ended up with just 3 on each. Yeah. And then, so I kind of put these in order. So like for this one, you can see I had 2 that were lighter and 1 that was a darker shade, and these are not double-sided printed, so there are going to be some white pages in here. And in fact, these, if you could see, there was actually the price stamp from, because these are from Hobby Lobby, so the logo, is on the back. I will work at that as well and show you how I'm going to cover that up. But I decided to just stack the papers inside each other, and then I will even them up to make sure that they are not sticking out from the covers. I'm just using my ruler and craft knife to trim those down. Nothing super major. You could tear them in if you wanted to as well, but because the other edges were straight cuts, I decided to just trim them down straight. You can see here, I'm just doing that same thing, because obviously when I folded these, I wasn't measuring anything, so I wanted to have the edges be, pretty well even. And so I did that for each of the journals, and now I am going to sew my 3 little pages in here. You could get out, I have a book cradle, but I have this little foam mat that's going to work perfectly for cutting, or, for punching these little holes. It's 3 little tiny holes and a simple pamphlet stitch for these little journals. So this is the one that has the fabric for the spine instead of the actual paper, but I'm using a little clip here just to kind of help me hold everything in place. I'm not measuring anything. You certainly could if you feel like you need to do that. I'm just not too concerned about it. If I had, multiple signatures, then that's when I do more measuring, but for the most part, I just kind of eyeball it. So I'm not even taking all of the thread off the spool because I have so many of these to sew together. So I'm just threading my needle. I'm going to go in through that center hole out to the outside. I'm going to go up to the top and back into the signature, then all the way down to the bottom hole and back out to the outside. And then I'm going to come back in to the middle hole, and then I will tie that off. You just want to make sure that both of the tails are on opposite sides of that string there. You can see how I'm doing that. And then I'm just going to tighten everything down and tie it in a knot. Just make sure that when you're passing that needle back through the middle that last time, that you don't split the thread that has already been there, or you won't be able to pull your threads tight. So that's kind of how that's going to look. I'm not going to make you watch me do all 4 of those, but they are all sewn in the same way. And then I decided to decorate the covers. So I have pulled some things from my stash here, different printables and different things. So these are, for this particular one, these are actually part of the printables that come with the All Things Roses kit. I decided to just add a couple of these. So I have this little label and then this almost like little T-card or whatever. And again, because these are kind of heavier duty, printed on heavier duty paper, I'm not too worried about them. And then that little bird is actually a Tim Holtz ephemera piece. And I'm just going to kind of glue him over the top and just make a little kind of cluster here on the cover. I don't know why I really liked him on there. I just did. I don't have any rhyme or reason for any of that. It's just what made sense at the time. And then this one is one that was covered in some vintage book paper, and I just kept this one very simple. This is actually a Tim Holtz piece of ephemera and a Tim Holtz label. I just did this up here where this writing is, just to kind of break that up a little bit. I don't mind the writing being on there, but it was a little overwhelming, so I just wanted to have that label up there. This is actually a piece from Your Creative Studio. It's been in my stash forever, and I'm trying to find a way to get all of those used up as well, and I thought that worked perfectly with the kind of blue of that envelope. And then this last one has a mix of things. That's some Your Creative Studio paper that I am tearing here. And then I have this printable that's got the piano on it. This is an ephemera piece, and I cannot remember. I want to say that's an ArtfulEra Gallery printable, but I could be wrong about that. And so I'm just tearing a little piece. I am covering up part of the window there, but not a lot. It just a little bit is peeking through. And what I have in the window that you can see there is actually a Tim Holtz journaling card. So each of these little envelopes, both at the front cover and the back cover, have Tim Holtz journaling cards tucked into the pockets, which I will show in a second. This is a little sticker. I think this was also an item from Your Creative Studio when I was getting that subscription. And so I'm just going to create a little cluster down here. And then I'm also going to add just a little tiny ephemera piece of Tim Holtz that is going to bring in a little bit of the blue, because you can see it through the little blue piece from the window. So I just thought that would kind of help tie everything together. And then I am just leaving it as is. You can see here where I have covered those logos. Basically, I used some Tim Holtz journaling cards and created little tiny pockets in there. And then again, here are the journaling cards that are just tucked into the pockets that are created from the cover. So here are the little finished mini envelope notebooks. I'm going to put these in my stash. They may be Happy Mail or whatever, but anyway, if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.